This is a podcast by the News Minute, and you are listening to South Central.
Hello and welcome to South Central, a TNM podcast where we put the South at the center. I am Dhanya Rajendran, your host. Joining me again, co-hosting the show this week is Anisha Sheth, the Karnataka Bureau Chief of the News Minute. Welcome, Anisha.
Hello.
See, Anisha's smiling more and more because she's gotten used to being the co-host of the show, threatening Pooja's position.
No, I'm getting better at keeping up appearances.
Okay. Also joining us in the studio is the executive editor of the News Minute, Sudipto Mondal. Welcome.
Thank you.
In today's episode, we look at why a Muslim girl child in Kerala should not have been deprived of her education in the name of hijab. And then we discuss the Andhra Pradesh-Karnataka spat over industries. So before we go to the headlines, I want to quickly remind you that the offer, which is a discount on the subscriptions, is still running. It's 20% off on 3-month and 6-month plan and 25% off on an annual subscription plan. You take the plan, you get access to all the podcast stories by News Laundry and the News Minute. But more than anything else, you get to support independent media. You know, my brother took the annual subscription with 25% offer saying I'll save some money. But I'm going to make sure that he takes one more subscription after a few months or gives it to a student. So don't forget, get the Diwali offer. Okay, so now to the headlines with Anisha.
Okay, so before we start off, we have an announcement to make. It is somewhat bittersweet because, you'll know why. So TNM's editor-in-chief, my boss, Dhanya Rajendran, has been nominated for RSF's Global Press Freedom Award. Well, it's bittersweet because this is the kind of award you can't exactly be happy about because it tells us just what a sorry state our right to free expression is.
It's a recognition of what a horrible time you've had.
Yes. Yes.
While doing that. And hey, no, please explain what is this RSF.
So, I'm just coming to that. So RSF is a media organization which works towards protecting the right to freedom of speech and expression. It's more commonly called Reporters Without Borders. And the News Minute has been recognized not only for the work that we do in terms of our journalism, but also in terms of what Dhanya does as the head of DigiPub. And she's taken on a lot of people who work overtime to, make our lives harder, make your lives harder because they affect your right to know what you need to know.
Yeah, so RSF stands for Reporters Sans Frontier. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Forget the pronunciation.
Like how you have
yeah.
Doctors Without Borders, you have Reporters Without Borders. It's an important institution. It has come to the aid of journalists in different countries, particularly when they're going from one country to another. But like I started off saying, Dhanya, this is just a measure of the nominees. It's not like a Filmfare Award or something, right? Where the nominees are like, oh, I've done a good job or I've done a good job. This is a measure of how badly you've been treated by the establishment.
I just feel pleasantly surprised in being in the list, but I was also a little taken aback because look at the other people on the list, right? Like I felt
who are the others?
Far more comfortable. There's Bisan Ovda from Palestine. She's some 4-5 million followers on Instagram. She's one of those last few journalists still reporting from Palestine. Then there is that Luat Khoa. It's a Vietnamese organization. I've met some of the editors. They all live in exile. And one of the editors were in jail for 9 years for anti-national treachery or whatever.
Oh, Vietnam also same story.
Yeah. This was propaganda against the state. They were in jail. Then there is another person from Chile. His name is Barahona, who I'm hearing for the first time. He apparently has done a lot of things against the biggest military corruption scandal in Latin America. I mean, reporting on any corruption in Latin America, I was once in the seminar where a Latin American journalist was explaining how much of a threat it is if you report on mafia, on drugs, on guns or anything like that. So to find myself in that list, I'm surprised and happy, that's all.
Yeah, I hope, all the nominees get it.
All the nominees go to Paris to at least go for the event, no?
Actually, this Mexican journalist and this whole South American drug cartel thing, I remember going to Washington, D.C. where there is this thing called the Newseum. News Museum. There's an entire wall, Dhanya, of photographs of Mexican journalists who've been killed in this crossfire.
Yeah. Okay, so Anisha, to the Real headlines.
Okay, so we'll start with Kerala. Kerala government moves ahead with PM Shri despite CPI's opposition to it. So the education minister noted that, the state would finally be getting some funds from the union government. And I think that appears to be the primary motivation, because we are talking about 1,500 crore, which is pending from the union government through schemes such as Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan and so on.
Yeah, so in fact, I was wondering, why has Kerala government agreed? Because it's almost the end of its term, right? And they have resisted PM Shri all this while, because to get the PM Shri funds, you have to say yes to the national education policy. Then there are lots of conditions, like you have to have Prime Minister Modi's name and his photograph on that school, which is why they resisted. Now they have said yes. But yesterday we wrote in our newsletter Power Trip, we spoke to ministers in the cabinet. They said that if the CPI pushes back too much, then they may have to reconsider this. It was not a cabinet decision, by the way, it's department-wise decision.
It's like a franchise store now, the union government. Like a chain KFC store or a McDonald's saying you have to put our logo there.
Yeah, seriously. Next.
Okay, this one is a little bizarre. Again, it's from Kerala. An atheist group in Kerala is arguing that there's no evidence to prove that there is a genocide in Gaza. Now, some of the comments made by the speakers are downright bizarre. The group is called Essence Global, and they made these remarks at their annual conference. So, one speaker pointed out that, between 65 and 70,000 people, including about 20,000 children, have been killed in a location that is 40 square kilometer in length and 10 kilometer in width. And nobody can deny that this is a genocide. And they respond with, do you want to quote that part, Dhanya?
Yeah, please do. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So they go on and on about evidence, but they make no mention of any of that evidence. I'm just going to read that out.
While you're finding it, can I just connect a few threads over
please.
Here? This takes me back, Dhanya, you might remember, this very disturbing development that happened in the Antica space when this genocide was happening, where again, it serves no purpose to take names, but certain so-called Dalit Marxist formations had started saying similar things, saying that Jews are like Dalits and all of that, which has some material historic basis, which is that Jews were discriminated, as we all know, in Europe, in different parts of West Asia and all of that. But to use that to lose sight of what is happening now, this Rationalist Association, I was also reading, it was very, very...
So I got a lot of letters and mails from people saying we should not call them Rationalist Association, we should call them a cult. Because the Essence Global, our colleague Harita John has written extensively on the Essence Global. In 2023, she did a profile about how new atheism in Kerala is facing questions over Islam critics. So their basic thing is not just rationalism, it is about against Islam. And that is how they are siding with the right wing in saying that Israel is right in its actions. Yeah, you want to read that part
Just
out?
that one part, I'm just going to read it out. So that one of the speakers, the members of this organization, he accused the UN of acting as a communal body. And he says, if a notion that the moon was split in two and then glued together is presented in the parliament or a panchayat, it may not be accepted, but it could be accepted in the UN. It is unfortunately an international body that normalizes communalism. Now, how in the world this makes any kind of sense? I'm at a complete loss.
No, but I suggest that you should look at the series we did called Faith and Flux. It was in 2023. I personally really liked the series because it had two very interesting stories. One are about the ex-Muslims of Kerala, the people who left Islam because they felt that Islamic laws were conservative, that it did not allow science to flourish, but they were accused of being Islamophobic. This was done by Chris, and Harita had done the story about this Essence Global, so do read those stories. It's called Faith
Harita's
and
body
Flux.
of work, I just once again want to underline the contribution of this very fantastic journalist who's our bureau chief in Kerala. So much of her work has gone into this question of how religion is practiced. You might remember that she went into these Theyyam practices.
Yeah.
She does this story on Chris Sanghis. Then she does...
We'll discuss Chris Sanghis today, in fact, in today's discussion. Yeah.
Then she did stories on the emerging right-wing tendencies, within different kind of formations in the church and all that. So I'm just saying, just do a Google for Harita John and you'll find a lot of her interesting articles. Yeah.
Okay, so we move on to Tamil Nadu next. AIADMK leader says alliance with TVK is the need of the hour and tells Vijay to emulate Pawan Kalyan.
Yeah, so this has been in the works. As we have been writing, AIDMK will try to ally with the TVK. The only question is what happens to BJP? Will they be thrown out like the fly in the ointment or not?
TVK, has it shown any Hindutva, Sanghi tendencies? I mean, he's himself not a Hindu, so
No,
I don't
not
know.
yet, but I don't think it's about Sanghi, right? After this Karur stampede,
Yeah.
there has been a lot of pressure on Vijay to go to the BJP because the BJP has been acting like his spokespersons. But he has not bitten the bait yet. We are hearing that the BJP is very upset with Edappadi Palaniswamy for not having any seat talks yet. But he obviously wants TVK more than the BJP.
Right. So let's go to Karnataka now. An all-women's delegation has met the chief minister seeking protection for, Dharmasala's, the independence of the SIT constituted to investigate these unexplained deaths and unsolved murders in Dharmasala over 40 years almost. So they...
it's a campaign called Who Killed the Women in Dharmasthala.
Yeah.
So they met the chief minister and they've got multiple demands, including the SIT should go on, that it has to look into murders of Saujanya, of Padmalata and the brother sister Yamuna and Narayana and all those murders.
Two demands beyond this case are actually quite interesting because they're demanding internal complaints committees in religious institutions of all faiths. And also they want to introduce comprehensive sex education and stronger safety mechanisms for women and so on. I think these two, demands are pretty interesting because I think the women's movement everywhere has been making a case for sex education because then it talks not just about consent and so on, but you can also go into questions of respect for all people, right? You respect a person as an individual beyond just the body and consent and who said when, at what point did somebody say no and all of that. White topping, DPR being prepared for a 500-kilometer stretch on Bangalore's roads. This is what the Bangalore Minister D.K. Shivkumar has said. So the white topping basically means concretization, and they're going to build 500 kilometers of roads in Bangalore city like that. For proportion, Bangalore road length is about 1,600 kilometers, and they have already white topped around 104 kilometers of roads, or they're in the process of being white topped. Now, this for me at least is like when I read this in the morning, I was just like shocked out of my wits because you are talking about putting a building a heat trap into this city.
But I think they are only thinking potholes because white topped roads don't fall apart like the other roads.
They're only thinking. Given how bad Bangalore's roads are, they can mess up this thing also.
No, but like outside our office is a white top, not outside. The Lavelle Road is a white top road. It's much better, right? So they're only thinking potholes. For them, nothing else matters. Water seeping through, environment, heating up.
No. So this has the potential to actually make affect the intensity of rain in Bangalore, and this is something that the Met Department also, I think there's a lot of weather related research. There was an IISc study done some 10 years ago where they talked about how Bangalore as a urban heat island affects what is called as aerosols in the atmosphere, which then affects the intensity of the rain. So rain that would fall over 10 hours is now falling in 3 hours, and there is no way in hell that your city's stormwater drains can, cope with that. So now imagine if they do this, what is going to happen to Bangalore?
Latest unsustainable solution. No?
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many, Dhanya in Kerala only, there's so many experiments with like different materials for road building and all I've seen, and mix of plastic, recycling, this, that.
But not like roads there are any.
There are many, Kerala roads are any day better than Karnataka roads.
I don't actually know.
I mean, they might be narrower because I have space.
But Kochi traffic is very bad these days. And Kochi people, if you're listening, please write to us. Isn't your traffic really bad? I sometimes go to Kochi and think, why are they complaining about Bengaluru? Everywhere it's becoming worse.
You're acting like D.K. Shivkumar now. Complain about some other city.
Yeah. Okay, now next headline. Yeah.
Let's talk about why the Congress top brass in Karnataka took on Kiran Majumdar Shaw.
This was part of our Power Trip newsletter. The newsletter comes every Tuesday. It's only for subscribers of the News Minute and News Laundry, which is why this is the best time to take subscription. For 1 year, you get at a discounted rate. Every Tuesday, we put in a lot of work to bring this Power Trip. So this week, we discussed, among other stories, the other story was why did they suddenly take on Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw? Because every time they're always like hello types, right? They never take on these elites of Bangalore. So we spoke to a lot of ministers and MLAs who told us that the reason they were so irritated is that Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw's negativity apparently was just not stopping. And they're like, if we don't listen to her, it's fine. She could have gone on a rant. But we take all her suggestions very seriously. Then why go on a rant?
Yeah.
But they did have a meeting, no?
No,
Yes,
she went
yes.
to give wedding invites for her nephew's wedding. She did not apparently talk about, at least to Siddaramaiah, she has not spoken about the roads at all. I don't know about DK Shivkumar. I have not asked.
Telangana Minister Konda Sureka means CM Revanth Reddy amid rift.
Yeah, so basically her OSD got sacked on allegations of extortion. Today, I think the Times of India reported that Revanth Reddy had a meeting with her and told her, don't associate with this OSD. But in between, her daughter held this very emotional press meet and in which she questioned Revanth Reddy for turning against her mother. So apparently, Konda Sureka told Revanth Reddy that my daughter was just emotional. She didn't mean anything. She really loves and respects you.
Moving on to Andhra Pradesh, Australia removes curbs on Andhra shrimp exports. So this is going to be a good thing for people in the coast of Andhra because they had a tough time after Donald Trump imposed 60% tariffs on Indian shrimp exports. That was a couple of months ago. So,
And the Australian government had stopped imports of prawns after some white spot virus was detected. You missed one headline. OIC has backed the Congress in the Jubilee Hills spy polls. Which is good news for the Congress because AIMIM does have votes in Jubilee Hills.
Moving on to national headlines, bogus law firm and fake Google notices, the murky online campaign to suppress stories on Vantara. This is a story done by our colleague Asifa Fatima. And Dhanya, you want to explain?
Yeah, it's a really, it's a story worth reading. It's basically about how around 7 to 8 organizations which had covered stories on Vantara, which is the animal rehabilitation center run by the Ambanis in Gujarat. These stories were investigations on how Vantara was being run. So much before Supreme Court gave relief and the SIT report came, they kept getting these fake Google notices saying your story has to be taken down. There was even a law firm made up called Aspire Law Firm. And a lot of legal notices were going from this Aspire Law Firm. So when Azifa looked at this law firm, there was this plagiarized bio of another lawyer working in Delhi. And then we called and asked her and she said, I have no clue why my bio has been used. Even if plagiarism is so bad, Aspire Law Firm is a person. That's how they've written it because they've just removed the name of the other person. Yeah.
No, I feel so touched, I feel so validated as a journalist in today's time that a behemoth like them has to go through so much trouble.
No, but we don't know who's behind all this. It is a mysterious entity.
Okay, we can assume
we can take wild guesses.
We can take wild guesses. Wild guesses, no reference to any zoo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That and also it goes to show how incompetent they are and how far privilege can protect you from your incompetence. That you can't even sabotage properly.
Correct. Okay, last headline.
Okay, so our last headline for today is new H-1B policy not applicable to those already in the United States, says USCIS.
Yeah, so basically that $1 lakh fee that they were supposed to pay, US has now announced it's not for people who are already in the US with H-1B, even if they're going for new jobs. There's a lot of fear that if your H-1B visa is, it change jobs, and also if the visa expires, you can ask for extension. All that you don't have to pay anymore. So a big sigh of relief for a lot of Indians and Indian companies. Okay, so that's it for the headlines for the week. Okay, so the first topic we're going to look at is the hijab controversy in Kerala. A few years ago, it was Karnataka that found itself in the middle of a hijab controversy. This time, it's Kerala. A state that often prides itself on harmony and coexistence is now seeing sharp divisions with something as personal as a piece of cloth, the hijab, becoming the center of discussion. It all started with a student of the St. Rita's public school in Ernakulam going into her school wearing a hijab and being told by her teachers that she cannot. What followed has been a public debate that has gripped Kerala, with the Kerala government taking the position that the school was not right in preventing the child from attending class. As we speak, the child's father is trying to get her transfer certificate from the school. One more Muslim parent has said that she will not be letting her 2 children go back to the school. And as obvious as it can be, there is a lot of communal overtone in the way this is being discussed in Kerala. So joining us to look at the whole debate is Shahina KK, making her second appearance on South Central. As most of you know her, she's a senior journalist who's worked with multiple organizations, won many awards, including the 2023 CPJ International Press Freedom Award. Thank you, Shahina, for joining us here at South Central.
Thank you.
What is that very demure thank you?
No, I am trying to be serious.
Okay. So we'll quickly jump into the discussion itself.
Don't you want to make fun of Kerala and how it's responding to this piece? Don't you want to make fun of Kerala and how it's responding to this piece of cloth?
Kerala responds to everything, not only to a piece of cloth.
Yeah. So I just want to point out that there is a whole lot of precedence for whatever is happening in Kerala. We have seen that playing out in Karnataka. The only difference is that this is a school run by a Christian minority. It's a Latin Christian school. In Karnataka, when we saw the hijab controversy, it was in Udupi, where the school also had a BJP MLA as part of that decision-making body. It was again a government school here. It was a government school here, yeah.
That
PU
11th,
college,
12th
11th,
thing.
12th, yes. I keep saying school because I studied 11th and 12th in school, right?
Same.
But it's a PU college.
PU college, yeah.
It's a PU college here. So the precedence is also the Karnataka High Court judgment. The Kerala High Court judgment in 2018, where two Muslim girls had gone asking for their right to wear hijab in the school, and the judge said no. The school's fundamental rights take precedence over individual rights of the students. In the Karnataka High Court judgment, they went 2-3 steps ahead and said that, looked at the question of whether a practice is essential to religion, and they decided that hijab is not an essential practice. So, Shahina, how do you see the entire discussion in Kerala? We've also seen a lot of political parties jumping in, right? IUML taking a stand, the Congress, the CPIM. So there's a lot of politics also involved there.
See, this question, whether hijab is an essential religious practice or not, I think we shouldn't connect this issue with this question, because if among Muslims, like, there are a lot of organizations, or there are different streams, there are different viewpoints, even among Muslims, believing that, okay, hijab is not an essential religious practice, and there are people who believe that hijab is an essential religious practice. So leave that debate to the community. Here the question is, she is a child studying in 8th standard, and this school is insisting that she shouldn't wear hijab. And it's like, the question is how the society is looking at this piece of cloth, hijab. Hijab is part of one's attire. A girl belonging to a Muslim family, she used to wearing hijab, and it is the practice of a Muslim girl to wear hijab. It doesn't really matter whether it has something to do with the belief, like, there are a lot of women who do wear hijab, even though they are not very hardcore practicing people. So it's part of one's attire, and making it a controversy. And, and I personally, I think that there is some kind of a conspiracy behind it, because as soon as this thing happened, it went so loud, and it has become a point of discussion across India. In the social media, it has become a discussion like, oh, in Kerala, the Muslim students cannot wear hijab on one side. On the other side, it's like Kerala is also the same, but I think that this is one point which I don't have any proof to show. I don't have any evidence, but I think that there is a conspiracy behind it, because what is the most important point here? The most important point is the education of a child. Nobody can deny the right to education to a child, whatever be the reason, So I think, I know that there is a judgment by the High Court of Kerala that school's right, the child's right is overridden by the school's right, which might be true in the point of view of a court. But I personally think that the school has created a very unnecessary controversy, and they have not shown empathy and love to the child. It is their child. Like that girl was there. She was studying there till 8th standard. And Kerala has a very deep-rooted culture of secular practice in which we all learned in schools where, Christian, Muslim, Hindu students studied together. We ate together. We played together. This is the reason why Kerala is still, despite having all the problems, all the issues, the secular practices are still deeper and stronger in Kerala. And this is a very prominent reason. Children are studying together. This is one reason. So what happens to a child when she was asked not to wear hijab in the school? Naturally, the child will be taken out of that school and she will be sent to a school, maybe by a Muslim management or by any other management, where she can wear hijab. And eventually it happens like she would be studying with children from her own community. So that diversity is gone. So this is the result of, such unnecessary, actions and unnecessary controversies created by all these people. And this nun, that sister, she also should be reminded of one thing, that how the nuns were attacked and harassed in states like Chhattisgarh for wearing a nun's dress. They are not allowed to appear in public by wearing their costumes, the costumes of a priest or a nun. So somebody should remind her of that. That's what I feel. And I think that there is no gray area in this case. There are only two options, whether to be on the side of the child and the right of her to wear hijab, and whether to be on the side of the school. And I go with her right to wear hijab.
So I'll just explain the case to because Shahina pointed out that she's not sure if there is a conspiracy in this. I think for a lot of audience who are not clued into Malayalam channels which are discussed on a daily basis, what they need to understand is that there is a context to what happened in Kerala. This particular place where this happened, it had seen a little bit of tension around 2 years ago. The road was called Kalluchira Road. It was renamed to St. Augustine Convent Road, which is this convent which had set up a medical center or school. So at that time itself, the SDPI in the area had opposed, and even other people, not just SDPI, residents of the area had opposed this name, the name of the road being changed. So there have been tensions going on. Now this parent, Anas, I spoke to him, and he was telling me that he has 4 girl children. And there is this thing which is spread in Kerala that here is a Muslim man who's not bothered about his girl children's education. He's just insistent on the hijab. Yeah, that is not true. One of the girls are studying in Russia, one is studying in London, and 2 are studying in Kerala. And he was telling me that this child was studying in a school which was surrounded by prawn farms, and there are a lot of workers who are laborers who are walking up and down every day. So as a parent, he naturally felt unsafe that the girl child is going this distance into this school. Therefore, he decided to shift her to the St. Rita school. That's a school where the controversy is currently happening. Now, he says that there was no, when he made the child join the school, they did not specifically tell him that hijab is banned. So his child was, now when we say hijab, I don't know if people understand, it's just a shawl which they pin here. There's a uniform with the blue coat. She would wear a blue shawl and just pin it. When you say the word hijab, it sounds like somebody's covered their entire face. That's not what, even if that's the case, I'm just saying that in this case, it was just a shawl that the child was using. Now, to Shahina's point of whether there was a conspiracy, so I kept asking the father that, look, it was an arts day when the child wore the hijab and went, and the teachers called her arrogant and asked her to remove it. And he went to the school to take the child back. I asked him, but what made you so adamant to make her wear it again the next day? That is when he told me there's a PTA president of that school. His name is Joshi Kaita Parambil. Joshi is a part of the Christian Association Alliance for Social Action, or CASA, which is a right-wing Christian group in Kerala. In fact, Harita, our colleague, had written a long story called Chris Sangis. They are Christian Sangis and the rise of the Christian right in Kerala. And this guy is a CASA member. Before coming to South Central, I was checking out his Facebook profile. You know, very normal, standard Muslim hating right-wing Christian who's writing stuff like these are terrorists. Because SDPI had come to the school one day. Now even the father has become a terrorist for him. So the father told me that this man spoke in a tone which was just not acceptable. And that is when the entire thing flared up. And I was feeling very sad, like both sides fighting. And eventually it is a child who is now being taken out of that school because the parents feel it has become unsafe for her. Both of you are suddenly quiet.
No, because quiet for the death of enlightenment in what could have otherwise been a beacon of light in Indian education, which is Christian institutions, right? These institutions did contribute in a very, very significant way to bringing scientific knowledge, introducing it to the South Asian context, and all of this history is there. And in these institutions, you have someone like, from our very own Bangalore, we have, Father Ambrose Pinto. Anisha might know her, Dhanya, you might know him as well. These are people who took such courageous stands. You have a Stan Swami, who come from the same church, who are liberation theologians from that very establishment. And then you have this very, very scary, I won't even call it a substrata. This is quite a dominant force in the church establishment, and that's what is scary about it. And again, Anisha, you might remember when we were both working in coastal Karnataka, right? We would either have Sanghis going after these young Muslim women, or you would have Catholic institutions going after them.
Yeah.
And that is very, very worrying. And in any discussion about the hijab, we must all first and foremost put out the disclaimer, I suppose, that imposing it is also a problem. Demanding for it to be forcibly removed is also a problem, right? So both of which have happened.
Yeah.
No, I just want to go back and say, since we've been talking about the question, like Shahina mentioned, denying education to a child, right? If you go back around 150 years, you have people like Tilak and Lala Lajpat Rai who are stalwarts of our independence movement who had such horribly disturbing views on the education of women. One particular thing was on the question when they wanted to raise the age of marriage for girls from 10 to 12, by the way. This is not some great, radical, legislation they wanted to bring in. And Tilak said that women's education was the route for an attack on our ancient religion under the cover of Rakhmabai with the intention of castrating our eternal religion. These are the kind of comments that they were making. Just for context, Rakhmabai was a young girl. She was married off as a child, and when she became an adult, she challenged her marriage, saying, "I don't want to live with this man anymore," in the Bombay High Court. And this is the context in which this entire thing was made, right? So even after that, the Arya Samajas and all of that, they started educating children. They started set up schools for girls. But what did they want to teach you? Basic literacy, little bit of maths, then hygiene, cooking.
Home science.
With the precursors of our home science courses, right? So this was the kind of education that was supposedly meant for us, right? And now today you see a reinvention of, that is no longer relevant, but now you have the hijab being propped up as a reason to deny a child an education, right? So we've come a long way, but now we've also still remained stuck in a old wine in a new bottle, right? So, I mean, the contrast is just like...
Yeah. I just, before I go to Shahina, I just want to make a point. So last South Central, I had not completely watched this thing. I mean, I had not realized what is happening. And I did make a point that the Karnataka and Kerala examples are very stark because here it is a government PU college where there were no uniforms. And this one is in a private school where there is uniform. So the question to be applied is differently. I mean, I was thinking what will happen in court, right? Not thinking of the girls' education. But in the last 1 week, I've thought more about it. Yeah, Sudipto?
No, since you mentioned court, I kept this on the anvil for some time. There's this article I want to bring attention back to because Karnataka is an important part of this very conversation. You might remember there was this whole hijab row in Karnataka, at which time I had written a piece. The headline is, "The plan is Hindu Rashtra, my lords. The hijab is a smoke screen." That was the title of the article, and the blurb is by taking the view that the hijab is a symbol of Muslim women's oppression, the court, that is the High Court of Karnataka, gave legitimacy to the absurd idea that the BJP is attempting to liberate Muslim women from the clutches of fundamentalists. I suppose this is the point she was making also with Tilak and all of these things. Yeah.
Yeah, Shahina, I want to ask you that I'm just being the devil's advocate here. For example, a lot of people we speak to, right, on a daily basis, they'll tell you that why there is a uniform. Why should anybody go against the uniform? Because if one person uses a shawl or a hijab to go against uniform, tomorrow there'll be somebody else who'll do something else, right? So everyone will start deviating, and the purpose of the uniform itself, it becomes redundant. That's the normal response.
No, but sorry.
Come, Shahina, because I think her connectivity is also bad. Yeah.
I think an answer to this question would be, we will have a clear answer to this question. If there is a uniform, whether everybody is obliged to follow it. That's the question, right? So imagine a different scenario. Imagine a Muslim management school. There is a uniform, and a Hindu boy during the season of Sabarimala coming to school wearing a black mundu, which is part of the ritual. And the management says that no, this is not allowed here. We have to follow the uniform. Then what would be the situation? Then whether everyone who argues for uniform and the school's right to practice uniform will be having the same opinion. So if we get answers, if we imagine different scenarios like this.
There is actually a somewhat similar, different scenario that we're talking about. 2 months ago, April, there was an entire controversy when students writing the CET exam in Shimoga, in one district, a home guard person appointed for exam vigilance duty made a student boy remove his janivara, the sacred thread. The ruckus over it was really quick and really strong, because you have everybody in government bending over backwards, talking about how the child's religious rights had been violated, questioning hurt sentiments, that whole, rigmarole, you run through that. So the response when it comes to the right of girls to get an education for wearing something as simple as a scarf, nobody is going to make that argument saying stand up. Nobody is going to stand up for that child, and nobody did actually.
No, I also want to point out, when the Karnataka case came up in the High Court, one of the petitioners, there were all the girls who went to court, one of the petitioners asked that there are children who come wearing the cross. There are children who wear bangle, who wear bindis. So these are all exceptions, right? Because a bindi is not essential religious practice maybe, but still it is part of somebody's religious character. And they wear that and come. So why are Muslim girls being made to suffer? It specifically asks, why did the Karnataka government order, the GO which banned hijabs, only talk about hijabs? Why did it not talk about other deviations in the uniform? So this definitely are policies which are meant to target Muslim girls. And we have seen in Karnataka how immediately after the 2022 fallout, Muslim girls were dropping out of schools and colleges, right? You have read that
and therefore project successful, no? That is what is the project, that somehow get these bodies out of spaces which we inhabit. This is segregation only, no, in the end of the day, which is that you either become like us or you get out. That is the thing. And anyway.
Yeah, Shahina?
Yeah, I think we should not forget, and we should really appreciate the stand taken by the Education Minister of Kerala. He categorically stood by the right of that girl, and he was very, very clear about her right to go to school, wearing a hijab or not wearing a hijab. It doesn't matter. The girl's education is the most important thing. So I think we should really appreciate him in this case. Like, I think once in a while, I think there is nothing wrong in appreciating governments too.
But didn't the education minister first say, I think education minister first said the school has the capability and school can decide. But when the district education officers gave a report, which I was saying, right, the father said that when he admitted the child to the school did not specifically say that she cannot wear it and come. So in the previous school she has gone to Christian schools also, where she was allowed to wear the hijab. There are Christian schools in Kerala which allow it. So he said, because I was not specifically told, I allowed my child to join this school. So that's what the education department said, that the school should allow this child to wear. I want to just talk about this essential religious practices, right? Now, Shahina said in the beginning of this debate, of this discussion, we are not even debating like against for, right? I did try to get a lawyer this time who will talk about the uniform rule. Whenever I try to get someone who has a contrary point, they will never turn up. The only person who's ever turned up is Mohandas Bhai. But anyways,
And
so...
and he created such a scene. And he continues to, still seems to have sentences which he, I feel I know he could use those sentences here. So he keeps on trolling us on Twitter.
Yeah. No, so the thing is, the religious practices, I think it was a mistake by these petitioners because they were the ones who took it up before the Karnataka High Court. It was not the government which actually argued that the hijab is not essential religious practices. It was one of the girls, I think two of them whose lawyers put up this argument, and then it just went
South.
Went south. Yeah, and in the Supreme Court.
See, when all these hearings were happening in the Karnataka High Court, I was talking to a Muslim scholar who has written the interpretation of Quran and all. He's a very scholarly person in Islam, and he told me they are going to fail. And he told me that most probably the court will come up with a judgment that wearing hijab is not an essential religious practice. So I was so surprised when the judgment came. So then only I understood that there are a lot of Muslim scholars who argue that it's not an essential religious practice. So I think the best thing is to leave it to the community, whether to wear it or whether not to wear it, whether it is an essential practice or not. And unfortunately, it was taken to the court, and I believe that it was a strategic error.
Yeah, it was a strategic failure, and in the Supreme Court they did not take that argument, which is why they at least got a split verdict. And I was reading that the Supreme Court Justice Hemant Gupta and Justice Dhulia went ahead and said that nothing more, nothing less, it is a matter of choice. And he said the education of the girl is foremost on his mind. That case has never got listed again after the split
hasn't
judgment.
been listed again. It's been a while now, several years. Yeah.
Though Siddaramaiah said that once he comes to power, he will do something about it. He just suddenly had this realization, oh God, it's still in court. We can't do anything. Yeah, you want to say something?
Nothing. Since we are not debating, I thought I could introduce a topic of debate, which is, okay, we have a problem with removing the veil by force and all of that. But I can't help but wonder, because we were discussing Mangalore and coastal Karnataka earlier, in the context of that region, we understood that there's a growing trend of Muslim women adopting the veil, using it as a symbol of their identity at a time when their identity is embattled. Okay. Now, from what our common sense understanding of Kerala, what it tells us is that Kerala is not coastal Karnataka. Muslims play a very important, visible role in public life, not just civil society. In all walks of life, you will find Muslims just being part of the normal social mosaic. So therefore, how should we understand the growing trend of women adopting the hijab and the veil in Kerala? Shahina, will it be out of place if you kind of, bring that into the discussion here? Is it relevant, you think?
Yeah, I think this trend has started from 90s, I think. Maybe it has a connection with the demolition of Babri Masjid. So there were a lot of debates happening in Kerala during that time, and this sense of identity and the need for asserting one's identity has grown bigger in Kerala during that time. So I noticed a lot of women started wearing not even hijab but wearing parda. Maybe they influenced by organizations like Jamaat-e-Islami and all. So a lot of women started wearing parda. So it has become a kind of a norm. It has a connection with the, with all this, discrimination against Muslims and the demolition of Babri Masjid, it has a connection with this growing sense of alienation and growing sense of fear within the community. But personally, I don't believe that it is the right way of responding to a political crisis. I mean, it's a very personal opinion. I mean, I believe that it's not the right way of doing it.
So I think it's a very complicated question, Sudipto. First thing is, when you put this out, 100 people are saying, but you are feminist and you are actually supporting the hijab. See, whether I believe that hijab should be worn by women or not is a feminist question, which I will answer perhaps in a different context, right? Here we're talking about what the state, what a public or private institution can do to a child. So it does not matter. Now, why do more women in Kerala wear hijab? This is a conversation amongst Keralites itself quite a bit. I was reading this paper. In fact, I think Harita tried to interview this author and he was not ready at that time. He's written a very detailed paper on the different cultures, Sufi, Shia, etc. And even the Persian culture, which has the Arabic, Saudi Arabian culture, etc., which has been influencing various Islamic sects in Kerala itself. So certain people wear the hijab, the parda, and certain people do not, and how there's an influence from abroad, right? That is one. But I think Babri Masjid is one important point. The BJP coming to power.
The Salafi movement has become strong.
Yes, the Salafi movement. Yeah, I was looking for the word, sorry. So he's written on the Salafi movement and how that has also made a lot of people use the parda and the hijab. I've been trying to search for the paper. I'm not able to find it. I think like Shahina said, yes, the Babri Masjid, the BJP being in power for so long. And it's also about political identity, right? Like sort of asserting it and becoming a community. Even Hagia Sophia for that matter. I think a lot of political debates across the world also. It's not just what happens in India, right? And that is a reflection we see. Like, for example, in Karnataka, I want to just bring back the attention to what happened here. The moment the students started holding those press meets, we saw a very orchestrated protest by right-wing student groups where everybody started wearing the saffron shawl and coming to school. In fact, Prajwal at that time had done an investigation which showed there was an anonymous message doing the rounds across colleges in Udupi, so that all of you wear saffron shawls and come to college. What happened? This saffron shawl was taken as an excuse in the High Court, where the Advocate General tells the court that, look, today if we allow hijab, tomorrow saffron shawls will come. Who put the saffron shawls? Your own student associations ask people to come wearing the saffron shawl and you post that as an impediment in front of the court. Sometimes I wonder, like, don't judges read news as to who are wearing these saffron shawls and coming?
And also, I don't understand, like you mentioned the courts, right? Why does the court not go into the root cause of the social disturbance, which is that there is a militant organization on the ground threatening to disrobe women?
Yeah.
That is something that the court didn't take into consideration, but it wants to go into essential practices of a 2000-year-old religion.
No, but that, I mean, like, see, that you can't. Okay, you can fault the court for that, but it is also the petitioners who made that argument.
Of course,
in court.
of course.
But
yeah.
like just one quick point here, when we're talking about this essential practices of a religion, the Brahmin Association here in Karnataka has gone to the Karnataka High Court, making exactly the same argument, saying wearing the sacred thread is our essential religious practice. So give all appropriate directions to the Karnataka Examination Authority over the CET and all of that. Now that has not been listed. The next hearing is in November, so it'll be interesting to see where this.
But it's hidden, right?
Rules.
It's inside.
That doesn't matter.
No, but
it was not. So
somebody cut it or something. What happened?
Yeah.
Removed it. Huh?
No, I think in one case it was cut, in another district it was removed. So the exam authority has a set of rules on what is permitted. Mangalsutra and toe rings are permitted, but nothing else. So it does not mention beads or any other kind of thread. So the poor fellow home guard guy has just asked that, following the rules, has told that kid to remove it. In some places, the kids have removed. One fellow went and complained to his parents, and then this whole thing started.
I'm trying not to say anything when Anisha is speaking, because somebody's commented last time that I'm deliberately interrupting Anisha. So I'm like sitting quietly here. But I just remembered one thing. This Fatima Tasneema was the state of Kerala, which is a 2018 case where two girls had gone to court. That judgment was by Justice Muhammad Mushtaq, where he said that the school's right is more important. So that also was used here a lot, saying that a Muslim judge gave that judgment in Kerala, which said that the hijab cannot be worn over the uniform, which prohibits it. So I think there's a lot of complication in this.
Yeah, so the Muslim judge on the Supreme Court bench, which also upheld the Karnataka High Court order, he's also always propped up like that, no? Saying, okay, one Muslim judge also said this and all that.
I don't know if it's a stretch or if it's relevant again, but just I don't want to lose sight of forces that are also trying to impose the hijab, okay? And the reason I must mention this is because it concerns a very dear friend and a colleague, Irshad Upinangdi, who's a journalist, with whom we all reported in coastal Karnataka. Irshad made a film called Swargada Hadiyalli in Kannada. It means on the path to heaven. Okay, and what did it explore? It explored these schools in coastal Karnataka, Muslim-run managements, which were imposing the garment on little girls. And as an extension of that, they also had a moral code imposed on these girls, saying what they can do and what they cannot do when they go to school. One of the things that they could not do is perform on stage. So the local Jamaat will decide these are the boundaries of our so-called respectability, and even if we send our school children to government schools, they will have to follow these kind of things. And when Irshad did this film and all of that, he was banished from his village.
He was threatened also a lot.
He was threatened.
Even now, he goes back to his village
Hmm.
with a lot of
No, there's
care.
no doubt about all that. In fact, that's the last point I just want to drag in quickly. Shahina, one reason why the discussion became very polarized in Karnataka was that the Campus Front of India was the one which organized the first press meet by the 6 girls. The same thing in Kerala. The notion is that the SDPI was a part of this whole protest. I did ask the father, and he said that no, I am not part of any political group. The 4th day, which is the problem starts on the 7th, the 4th day when he went to the school, there was a ruckus because one PT teacher spoke very rudely to him. So he shouted back, and hearing the ruckus, a lot of people from the neighborhood came rushing in, which included people from the SDPI. So he said, I have no connection. But Shahina, the involvement of CFI or SDPI at whatever levels it is also taking away people's trust in the original petitioner or the original the person with the grievance itself, right?
Yeah. In the Kerala situation, I think the Kerala Muslims are very much capable of handling with, the kind of crisis created by the Sangha Parivar organizations. But I think only God can save from organizations like SDP. Because this Kerala, and when we talk about SDPI and similar fringe groups, if we look at vote share and if we take vote share as a parameter to, look at a society, the vote share is even less than 1%. It's actually less than 1%. So these organizations do not have that much influence in the community at a broader level. But I personally, I believe that organizations like SDPA are only adding fuel to the fire, and there is absolutely, this is a very local issue, and this has to be dealt between the parents and the community and the teachers and the local community, and doing a protest march to the school and creating a kind of a very visible way of I think they are very much responsible for making it very visible, and yeah, you are right. Like, I also understood that the father has no connection with them. The father didn't talk to them, but they came by their own. So it is a very dangerous trend, I must say. Kerala Muslims actually do not need organizations like SDPI because the Kerala Muslims are empowered, politically empowered, economically empowered. They have the negotiation power. They don't need any fringe groups. So I think it is always better to keep away, to be very, very vigilant about the interventions of organizations like SDPI.
Shahina, I just had a question. You said organizations like the SDPI. I want to pick up from there because you're a political journalist with many, many years of experience of reporting on sectarian conflict based out of Kerala. And one of the organizations about which you've written a lot is the PDP. Abdul Nasser Madani and the PDP and all that. So when you say SDPI-like organizations, as a parting note, if this topic is mostly done, can you just talk about how the SDPI is different from the PDP, perhaps using this itself as a peg?
Yeah, one thing is that PDP, I think PDP is almost done. There is no PDP in Kerala now. The organization is there, but it is not at all, it doesn't have any influence within the community. And one difference which I noticed about, at least in the past 10 years back or 20 years back, PDP was actually talking about, the alliance among the need of alliance among Muslims, Dalits and OBC. That was the slogan raised by PDP in the beginning. But of course, there were a lot of, slogans raised by the PDP leaders asking Muslims to unite, which might have created problems in the community. But there is a difference between these two organizations in terms of the ideology. That is one thing. And second thing is that PDP doesn't have any influence among the community. As far as I look at it, that's what I understand. As I said earlier, 99.7% of Muslims, they are either in UDF or in LDF. It goes like that. So these fringe groups actually do not have that much influence within the community, but it's just growing. That is, that also we have to see. It is growing, and these organizations are trying their level best to infiltrate into the community.
Okay, so I'll close this, but me and Sudipto have had various discussions on how the SDPI acts in Kerala, how it is different in Karnataka. We can't say in every society they act the same way. And of course, how much are they needed, their intervention is a separate debate in itself. But I can already foresee our comment section full of SDPI. So yeah, thank you very much, Shahina, for joining us.
Thank you. Bye. See you.
Okay, so before we go to the second discussion, Sudipto has to leave. We'll record a recommendation, Sudipto.
Well, I must confess, I have not been reading anything. I've just been doom scrolling and watching some what people might describe as trash, but I found it very engaging, which is B star of Bollywood. Right?
Yeah, Badshahs of Bollywood, Bastards of Bollywood, whatever. Huh.
Don't use bad language on this show.
Okay.
This is not Hafta.
Yeah.
So that one, I think Aryan Khan, because he's Shah Rukh Khan's son, whatever he does is okay for me. Okay, but he's done an honest job, I feel, and it was funny in parts. I liked it. And I finally got down to watching the other Bollywood thing. What? Bollywood Wives. I think is very funny also. So that's my recommendation for this week.
Okay, I really need to make sure that you start on your next story. But thank you very much, Sudipto.
No, but I just want to take a break. I have lots of pile up and all that, which I want to read. I went to Delhi and I got Arundhati Roy's books and all of that. I have not read and started reading them. But yeah, anyway.
Bollywood Wives, that is your recommendation.
I think that Mahip, no? Mahip is a character I can identify with. Mahip is, whose wife? She is... Mahip is, I don't know, I know whose wife she is, but anyway, she's damn good.
Okay. Also, he's recognized, he's saying she's like him because she's damn good. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
take,
So, to everyone, she's Sanjay Kapoor's wife.
Sanjay Kapoor's wife has done an excellent job. And Chunky Pandey's wife is also very nice. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it'll all be the show notes, all the recommendations. Thank you, Sudipto. And now we'll go to the second topic.
Thank you.
Google recently announced a massive data center in Andhra Pradesh, Vizag. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Google CEO Sundar Pichai and Chandrababu Naidu, who is the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister, exchanged a lot of praises and they called it a landmark development. Now, while this was going on Twitter, a fight has broken out between Nara Lokesh, Andhra Pradesh Minister, and Priyank Kharge from Karnataka. Now, Karnataka's major accusation is that Andhra Pradesh is giving too many subsidies and concessions to Google and they can ill afford it. And Nara Lokesh replied saying that Karnataka is just jealous. It of course descended into much more, where Nara Lokesh said that Andhra food is very spicy, some people are not able to tolerate it. And this is not the first time. Over the last few months, we have seen continuous war of words between Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka. And is it good in one way or Does it reflect badly on either states? To discuss all this, we have with us Indulekha Aravind. She's a senior journalist who writes primarily on business. She's worked with the Economic Times for many years. Recently, she wrote for us a profile on billionaire Nikhil Kamath. And a lot of people asked us, Indu, why this profile? Why?
I think I went into that in the other video.
Yeah. So, watch the other video.
Forward.
Yeah, watch the other video where Pooja, Prasanna and Indulekha sat down to explain the profile. But surprisingly, a lot of people read it, though we don't cover business at all. So Indulekha is now preparing another profile. We'll keep it as a mystery, right? So how have you been have you seen all this fight happening and what are your first thoughts about it?
Yeah, it was hard to miss because it was quite entertaining to watch from the sidelines for us journalists. But this goes back, in fact, to last year, soon after the TDP came to power. And I think that was around the time in June, July, when Karnataka had announced this policy to reserve jobs for locals in the private sector. So that's when Lokesh fired his first shots, so to speak. And after NASSCOM, which is the industry body representing IT and the IT services sector, they expressed concern. So Lokesh immediately jumped in and said that, you're most welcome to relocate to Andhra and Vizag and invest in our state. So after that, we've seen this pattern of Lokesh using X or Twitter whenever there's a big controversy in Karnataka, which is unfortunately it's not few and far between, especially about infrastructure, roads, etc. If a prominent person expresses any displeasure, we had the logistics startup Blackbuck, for instance, talking about the really terrible traffic on ORR, which meant that they're considering shifting their office after 9 years. Again, Lokesh swings into action and says that, you should come to Vizag. So this is, it's Andhra is, a new state, of course, relatively. And I think he clearly wants to be out there seen promoting, investments, sending out a message to companies, to investors that the state is welcoming, new companies. So that's part of it. But obviously, when you see the numbers in terms of, you look at, even FDI, Karnataka is far ahead at the moment. In the latest, the FY25 figures, for instance, Maharashtra was at the top with about $19 billion in FDI investments, and Karnataka came in at around $6.6 billion. And Andhra was, of course, not even in the top 5. So obviously, it has a long way to go. But Lokesh is keeping the pot boiling when it comes to these discussions on investment and attracting investment.
Anisha, your thoughts?
I find the whole thing very entertaining. I was just looking at all the barbs that they've been making at each other. And Priyank Kharge just stopped short of, raised a question and left it to people to figure out what he was saying when, about what do you call an organization, what do you call an organism that feeds off another organism? And he just left it hanging in the air.
But didn't Lokesh say that to Priyank Kharge, or was it the other?
No. It was Priyank Kharge who said that to Lokesh. But Lokesh said that, we should, indicating that Karnataka should contain its arrogance because it had issues like potholes to deal with. So, both haven't held back.
Yeah, no, but what I want to understand is that when this kind of thing happens, there is also serious criticism, right? For example, the concessions, Janvi, my colleague, had done a story. The concessions which Andhra Pradesh gave to Google is quite a bit, which is TCS and Cognizant got 21 acres each for a token price of 99 paisa. Now, as far as Google is concerned, the subsidies are going to continue 15 years for electricity and 10 years for water. For electricity, they're going to charge, I think there's a 25% discount for industrial water supply, 25% discount on the 480 acres of land, 100% discount on the reimbursement of state GST on the construction phase. These are some of the subsidies. So what Priyank Kharge has been saying is that for a state like Andhra Pradesh, which is revenue deficit, and I think in the 2022-23 CAG findings, Andhra had the highest revenue deficit in the country. His argument is that the state cannot afford it. This is too many concessions given for one data center to come in. And there's a question of politics. The TDP is in alliance with the BJP. So the BJP is also perhaps offering something extra to Google, which is not being discussed publicly, which is why they choose Andhra Pradesh. But when they fight publicly like this, industries are not going to go to Andhra Pradesh or to Karnataka thinking who's more savvy in tweeting, right?
No, obviously, definitely not. If only it was as easy. I mean, investment definitely hinges a lot on the kind of SOPs that state governments are able to offer, and that they're able to, woo these companies with. And the question that Priyank has raised is valid in terms of the kind of subsidies that Andhra has been able to offer. And in fact, I think it was in earlier this year that Chandrababu Naidu himself had said at a public event that Google had raised some concerns about questions on taxation, and that that there shouldn't be anything applied, any rule or law applied to it later after it's made the investment. And when he raised it with the Prime Minister, Modi apparently reassured him that that will not happen. So with that kind of backing from the central government, Andhra would definitely have an edge when it comes to attracting investments. Now, whether the math makes sense, that I'm not in a position to say whether it'll make there'll be an adequate return on investment. But another example in this is there's been a lot of talking about chip manufacturing facilities, right? So in Sanand in Gujarat, for instance, this Micron's facility was supposed to be an investment of $2.7 billion, out of which the state and center together would cover about $2 billion in subsidies and investments, which raises the question about whether, do you want to spend that much to attract jobs and investments? And in fact, if you remember, Kumaraswamy had raised this question about should the government be spending, I think, 3.2 crore in subsidy for every job generated. Of course, I think in a day or two, he had to retract it, saying he was misquoted. But that's something that states do obviously need to take into consideration.
So the civil rights organization called Human Rights Forum is only the only one which has come forward condemning the Google data center for multitude of reasons. One, of course, is the water scarcity in certain parts of Andhra Pradesh and how a data center can really use groundwater, right? The second is that it is not going to generate jobs as much as it is being touted. Now, water, when we asked Andhra officials, they're saying, no, it's water surplus. I don't know exactly how, but they're saying so. So what you're talking about, what is a return of investment? I feel that more than whether it could be jobs, sustainability, etc., it is now for Andhra Pradesh about pride, about putting themselves on the map, right? For Naidu to say that I brought Microsoft to Hyderabad and now I'm bringing Google to Andhra Pradesh. It's the visibility, I think, that they're fighting for now more than anything else.
Yeah.
But even if there's visibility, and for companies, like you said, concessions and, all these SOPs do matter. But is that all? Doesn't whether people who you can recruit, what are the conditions? Like, for example, if you go to a particular place, there enough housing, or what are the colleges nearby? Will people come to be recruited? Will they stay back? Aren't these all factors, and infrastructure, connectivity, all these are factors, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to data centers specifically, this is a big argument globally. I think New York Times, in fact, had done a story which spans locations across the world, including places like Mexico, so it's not just water. There are two big resources that data centers consume. That's water and power. Water used for cooling itself and for power generation, and power generation itself. So when it's a $15 billion investment, a 1 gigawatt data center that's coming up, whether that's the approach to investment that the state should be doing, that's a question that it definitely needs to ask itself, because Andhra officials have said that they have enough water, etc. But I think there have been reports about scarcity in Vizag specifically. I'm not entirely sure of the power situation, whether there is, even if there is adequate power now, whether it can generate enough power in the years ahead. So these are, definitely things that the state government needs to keep in mind. And it's not just, in Andhra, in all our cities, right? Whether it's Bangalore, whether it's Mumbai, water is definitely a huge concern. We have multiple reports about Bangalore going to run out of water by XYZ. So I'm not even sure if data centers is an investment that Bangalore should be chasing at all.
But also, like the HRF was also saying that, these data centers have been shunted out of places like Berlin and I think Illinois or Indiana or somewhere.
Ireland also has a big movement against.
So then it's like third world becomes a place for discarded technology or discarded, polluting projects and, environmental resource intensive projects, right? So
but I think for Andhra, the concern now is just to center themselves as that business destination, which everybody will want. Like they have this policy 4.0, which has 6 policies to supercharge the state's industrial ecosystem. They're targeting key sectors. So from the time Naidu is coming again as chief minister, his only thing is to make sure that Andhra seems to be investment friendly, right? Because if you don't seem to be investment friendly, you talk about your problems, you put focus on that, on water scarcity, or that is not going to generate jobs, people are not going to come in. So I think he's not thinking far ahead as to what are the problems that any of these things can pose.
See, but that only makes a difference to public opinion.
But it is, I think.
No. So if you are a manufacturing industry, you will do your own research on what resources are available, right? Now, if you have a data center, if they're going to actually consume as much water as, as is stated, where is the water coming from?
Yeah, the state will promise it to them, and I'm sure they'll do their best to ensure that the investor gets, the best facilities it can offer. But what that means for the larger community, etc., those are, bigger questions.
No, in fact, you are recounting all the stuff that Nara Lokesh had been tweeting whenever there's a problem in Karnataka, right? One of the things that he had sort of jumped in is the aerospace hub, which Karnataka had to postpone because of the farmers' protest in Devanahalli. There was a huge protest in Devanahalli, which went on for months, almost a year, which is when I think
1,000+ days they keep saying.
So which is when Siddaramaiah said that they will not give this land for aerospace hub. At least they try to stop it for some time. There's a lot of confusion still. And Nara Lokesh just jumps in. So I was thinking that there was a political problem here because people were protesting. As a government, you cannot simply tell an industry which will take away a lot of your acres to just come, because you need to have that land also to give, right? And even the construction of Amaravati, we have seen what kind of trouble this whole concept of land pooling ran into, which is what Naidu had experimented at that time, the whole land pooling process that they came with. You had covered the Devanahalli protest, right? And what were the farmers primarily saying?
See, the crux of it was this. They're saying this is fertile land. We actually make a profit out of this land, right? Why should we give this up? This is permanent economic and social security for us. Why should we give it up for paltry compensation that is going to leave us nowhere? And in previous land acquisition, which has happened around that area also, a lot of people have not gotten the compensation because their documents are not in order. So then even if government says we will give you whatever compensation, it has to reach the people, right? That has not happened entirely everywhere. And now Siddaramaiah has... See, the wording that day was problematic because he said we will give people who are willing to give us land, we will acquire it from them. So now there is one entire situation where there is people who are indebted, who've taken loans from money lenders and so on. They are to repay those money lenders, you're forced to choose to give up land. So there is that thing also happening over there.
So, this whole Andhra-Karnataka fight, I think there are other dimensions also, where Karnataka government is getting criticized saying that, you all cannot even build your road. See, Google is going to.
That I think is part
Andhra
of the
Pradesh.
reason why the state government was pissed off
Yeah.
with Kiran
Even Tamil
Majumdar's
Nadu, AIDMK
Yeah,
has
that
been
was a
telling
very
DMK.
funny comment saying that because
Your
Sundar
own
Pichai is
industrialist.
Tamilian, so Tamil Nadu should have got the investment.
Yeah, the AIDMK said that,
Yeah,
right? That
yeah.
he did not come here. So I think
Yeah.
DMK and Congress are facing the heat in their respective states. I wonder why nobody is going after Revanth Reddy in Telangana, considering he's an immediate neighbor. And he should have got Google saying Sundar Pichai come here.
But
Yeah.
even Tamil Nadu isn't coming in for as much attack by Nara Lokesh as Bangalore, right? I'm quite curious.
No, I think one is that he believes, not like I know what he's thinking, but from whatever his political posturing has been till now, he obviously does not want to take on Telangana. That TDP at some point of time will look at Telangana as a, where they can extend politically. They have been trying to contest here and there without any luck, but maybe in the future, which means you can't project Telangana as an adversary, right? The other one is Tamil Nadu, which I don't think they see it as a major competition. The IT sector, they look at Bengaluru mostly. And because Bengaluru has a lot of in-your-face problems where people are always on social media complaining about roads and infrastructure, it becomes much more easier. In Chennai, you don't see that kind of social media activity, right? People, like literally any place in Bengaluru you go to, the second line of your conversation is about the traffic. I went to Delhi recently and it was, I think, NDTV Global Summit was happening. So where our event was, Prime Minister, Sri Lankan President and some other Prime Minister was just going left and right and people could not get to the venue. And for the first time I was in a Delhi event where people were talking only about traffic. I felt very at home there. Yeah, so this is just a small quick discussion on this. Thank you, Indulekha. But before we wrap up, what is your recommendation?
Okay, I recently saw a really heartwarming movie called The Ballad of Wallace Island, which is one of the really random, sweet slice of life films about this super fan of this musical duo who had split up, and he kind of convinces them to play for him. He stays on this remote island. And it's basically, it's just kind of 3-4 people in the movie, but it's very uplifting and heartwarming. So if you feel like you need a pick-me-up, I'd highly recommend this.
What is it, Anisha? What is yours?
Persepolis. It's the first graphic novel I read, I think, and it's by this Iranian writer called Marjan Satrapi. In fact, I actually watched the animated film first, which the author herself has worked on. And then I went and read the book, and then I gifted the book to like all kinds of people, like lots of people. There was a point of time I was just gifting that book to people because it is just so cool. So yeah.
I have 2 recommendations. One is a book I reread recently before editing Sudipto's story. It's Brahmin and Non-Brahmin by M.S.S. Pandian, especially because Tamil Nadu elections are coming. If you're interested in politics and evolution of politics and religion, etc., do read the book. The other book, I'm sure many people have recommended this, but I want to do it again. It's A Truth Pill by Dinesh Singh Thakur and Prashant Reddy, especially in the wake of the cough syrup deaths in Madhya Pradesh. It's a must-read book. Every time I read the book, I'm like noting 100 story ideas as to how to, what story to do. And remember, all the recommendations right from episode 1 are there on our show notes. It's also there on the website. So please go back. Over the last few months, people have given amazing recommendations. So do look at all that. So thank you very much for joining us on the show here. As I began this by telling you, take the offer. Someone actually wrote to me saying that why do you guys have offer for Deepavali? You should be giving it for Independence Day, Republic Day, etc.
Press Freedom Day also.
We give it for all that. We give it for Deepavali.
Labor Day also, because lots and lots of work goes into producing the
It's basically
quality work.
whenever we can tell people, like, here's a discount, just take it and become a subscriber. So use it, become a subscriber. Thank you, Indu. Thank you, Anisha. Thank you to my producer, Bhuvan Malik. Thank you, editor Jasim Ali. Sukanya Shaji, who's listening into the show and had been very frantically sending me messages saying, Mahip is, who's, sorry, I forgot. Mahip, Sanjeev Kapoor's wife.
Sanjay
Kapoor's wife.
Yeah.
Yes, so she has been sending me these messages. Very, very important. Thank you, Sukanya. And thank you, Yana, who does all our socials.